This is Mirabella's Kitchen, and today I'm making buffalo chicken quesadillas. If you'd like to cook with me, please check the description below for a list of the ingredients and a shout out to my patrons. And both my sous chefs have joined me today. I start by making a yogurt sauce. This is going to be a healthier quesadilla, so hang on to your pants. I cut the lemon in half, and I use half of the lemon and squeeze the juice from it to have about 2 tablespoons worth of lemon juice. I add that into a small mixing bowl. I mince 3 cloves of garlic. Add it to the mixing bowl. About a half a teaspoon or so of coarse kosher salt. I eyeballed it. And I'm taking a 6-ounce zero-fat plain Greek yogurt. I strained out some of the excess liquid that tends to settle, and I whisk it all together until it is smooth. I'm gonna add some vegetables to this quesadilla. I was gonna use a red onion, but the red onion that I had was starting to sprout on the inside, so it had the green growing when I cut it into it. It smelled kind of funky. It had some sliminess to it, so I opted not to use it. I used a sweet onion instead. I think both would be fine options. I cut the onion pole to pole into slices. I also take 3 stalks of celery and dice it. I'm going to be using 2 chicken breasts for this meal. I'm going to cut the fat off, and then I'm going to thinly slice the chicken breast so I have 4 total slices of chicken. I use a meat tenderizer to thin the chicken even more. I'm trying to prevent big areas that are more difficult to cook through. And I season both sides of the chicken with some coarse kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. I take a stainless steel skillet, though you can use cast iron or a grill if you have one. I add a little bit of olive oil. I do recommend kind of cutting back though to maybe about 1 to 2 tablespoons worth. Then I'm gonna cook the chicken until it is cooked through on both sides for about 4 minutes apiece, and there's gonna be a nice golden layer that starts to form. Once the chicken has rested and cooled slightly, I start to slice it up on a cutting board, but I noticed my cutting board was sliding a bit because my plastic cutting board tends to move around on my counters. So as a safety measure, I put a towel underneath. You could use a damp paper towel as well. This will stabilize it. And I then cut the chicken into chunks. I then put the chicken into a medium-sized mixing bowl, adding all the extra juices. And I'm going to be adding 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I'm using individual packets I found at the store. I then add in 1/4 cup of Frank's Red Hot sauce. I eyeballed that too. And I mix together until it is smooth, and I was surprised to see how fast the coconut oil just completely smoothed out with the chicken and hot sauce. Now I'm gonna prepare the quesadillas before I cook them on the stovetop. I take a whole wheat tortilla, add about a tablespoon's worth of the yogurt sauce and spread it out across the whole tortilla. A thin slice of the buffalo chicken on one side, and I top it with some celery and onion, and a small handful of cheese. I'm using a Mexican blend. You can use cheddar, low-fat cheese, whatever you want. I take my nonstick skillet, I heat it over medium-high heat, and add some olive oil to the pan. Those were 2 mistakes I made. I recommend using a lower heat and using very little oil, if any, especially if you use non-stick. I mean, I didn't get to test this, so I'm theorizing this is going to be a better option. I used a pan as a counterweight to kind of make sure everything cooks thoroughly, kind of like the presses they use at some restaurants. And I let this cook for way too long on my first run. I completely burned both sides of my first take. I really recommend using a lower heat, less oil, if any, and also cooking it for maybe 2 minutes on each side. I would definitely check them. So I show a progression. I did take 1, this is take 2, and my final one is take 3 at the bottom. You can see the color progression there. They still tasted great, but err on the side of caution. I take the quesadillas, I cut them in half. I'm gonna plate them with a little bit of the yogurt sauce that I have left over. And that is my buffalo chicken quesadillas. Thanks so much for joining me today. I make new videos on cooking every Thursday. Please support me on Patreon and on Facebook at Mirabella's Kitchen.